All right, welcome back. I think this is part 3. I don't know. Anyway, if you're just now tuning in, this is part of a playlist. I suggest you go back to the first video in the playlist of removing all of this stuff because, well, let's face it, I'm not doing this for my health. All right, so there is only 8 bolts, as far as I can remember, that hold this manifold down to the heads. 2, 4, 6, 8. And that one is hard to get to. It's right here. There we go. Now, Felpro says to change these bolts every time. I don't know why, but we'll take the expert's advice and change these bolts. Let's see if she'll come from together. Oh, come on now. There it went. That wasn't too bad. Didn't even drip more than 15 or 20 gallons of water down in the hole. So, oh, goodness gracious. A little bit of sludge down in there. Not so much you can tell. Ugh. Yeah, this was a Quaker State or a Valvoline engine. All right, well, there's enough of that staring at the back of my head. I'm going to go ahead and pull the rocker covers off of it and examine the carnage in that general area. You'll notice that that intake manifold came off in one piece. You don't need to pull the throttle body off. You don't need to pull the upper plenum off. It'll all come off together. Our benevolent overlords at Generous Motors were taking care of us. Hey, there's a penny down there. How'd that happen? There we go. That's not too bad. I mean, a man on a fast horse would never see it. Okay, let's have a little looky-loo in here. Okay, all the rocker studs are screwed down into the head, and all the rocker nuts are screwed down all the way. Nothing feels extraordinarily gross. All right. Well, I reckon. Don't see no carnage anywhere. From what I can see of the cam, it's intact. Okay. Well, I'm going to loosen all the rockers up and we'll start pulling push rods out of her. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not on this episode, but on these Vortec V6s and the old Roller Cam 350s, whoop, if it goes into the block, it's an SAE. If it goes into any kind of accessory on the block, it's probably metric. So, old Generous Motors, they really like to mix everything up. Ooh, that's some impressive sludge. Cool. So anyway, they like to mix things up. So you get to use all of your tools when you work on these mid-90 GMs. That ain't right and that ain't wrong. That's just the way that it is. So everybody holds your fire in the comments about how the metric system is so much better or SAE is the devil, or I don't care. It's the way it is. So we've got all of our pushing rods out. They are in order. I keep them in order. I made this rack here a while back. So you'll see, you might see there's an arrow on the front of it. That's the front. Everything really needs to stay in order. I don't know that it makes very much difference other than my daddy said so. So that boy that you just saw, his dad says so too. Now I will inspect, as we're in the process of working on things here, I will inspect these rockers. You want to look for galling down where your rocker ball meets up here. That should be smooth and pretty and polished. You want to make sure that oil hole is open. Some people even reach in there and deburr that piece of flash. I don't think that's terribly necessary. This needs to be not galled, and you need to watch for cracks because these are stamped steel. There are stresses in them. Watch for cracks around this, where this ball socket is stamped in there. Look for galling and weird wear here and here. And that's kind of pretty much the inspection for these. Now, I am not going to put valve seals on this. I don't see the need to. They weren't smoking on startup. There is no oil consumption issues with this motor. I haven't put but just a few thousand, maybe 3,000 miles on this engine since we've owned it. So I've been afraid to drive it very much because of the rattling lifters. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is pull the lifter guides up. We'll pull the lifters out of it. All right, so I scraped out as much of the flaky stuff as I could and then kind of hosed her down with my favorite carcinogenic cleaning agent. So now I reckon I'm probably ready to try to yank them lifters out of there. That one came. I'll be dipped. The hole on that one was to the outside. Hole on that one was to the outside. That one had obviously been turned while I was cleaning. That one was to the inside. one got turned when I was cleaning. That one's to the outside. And there's a lot of crap in there. Oh, boy, that one's good and stuck. Come on, darling. Oh, you dirty old thing. Come on out of there. You know you want to come out of there. Golly goodness. There. That hole was towards the inside. Well, there is a lot of carbon and sludge and coke, whatever you want to call that, built up around the oil passages on these. My guess is this machine's seen some extreme long heap big of duration between oil changes. Oh, goodness. Oh, mercy. I'll poop my pants. All right, vice grip time. You get the point. Pry the dumb things up out of the hole and smile while you do it. All right then, I don't know how well this comes out on video, but you can see maybe this is the retainer here, and there's about, on this one, about a 1/16 of an inch from the bottom of the retainer clip to the top of the part that contacts the push rod. And that is nearly consistent with every one of these. There's one that's right. See, this part of the plunger should come up and touch that retainer. You know, here's one that's clean enough you might be able to see, you know, got a large gap in between that plunger and the retainer. Now I've got a video, probably about 4 or 5 videos back from this one, that where we took apart some lifters that were stuck like these were, and I cleaned them up. I took a bunch of them apart and I cleaned them up and got them to come back around. I don't know why I did that. I was bored, I guess, and it was raining outside. But anyway, if you're interested, just kind of look at that. I think it's what's inside of a lifter or something like that. But these lifters, like I said, this rig had sat for about 3 years, I think, before I bought it. You know, the usual suspects. Fuel pump was shot. Front end was smack worn out. The brakes were terrible. Everything was wrong. And when I finally got this thing running, the lifters rattled terrible. And I think I ran this for about 50 miles with transmission fluid in it. I know I ran it for at least a day, just idling, with nothing but transmission fluid in the oil. I mean, it was straight transmission fluid, trying to get these lifters to quit rattling. And I ran, after I changed the oil from that, I ran Seafoam. I think I ran Lucas. I've tried everything to get these lifters to come around, and they just wouldn't. And, you know, that's the nature of something that you don't change the oil in. That's why you got to keep the oil changed, and you don't use, you know, Harbor Freight recycled oil that for $1 a bottle. So anyway, I think the next episode we'll probably get some new lifters out and get them pumped up and get things cleaned up a little bit, stab some new lifters in this rig. Well, give us a big fat thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. And in the meanwhile, y'all drive safe and watch for deer.